Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. Today, as always, I will be doing a deck tech from the comment section for you guys. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you or help you tweak a current deck list, I'm looking for any of the 5 following metrics in the comment section: a bracket, a budget, a theme, a commander, and any pet cards you have. Today, we have a request by the user dmcgoob, who had just recently subscribed and was looking for ideas for Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls, no budget, bracket 4, Deadpool as a pet card. So that's what we're going over today. Valgavoth is 2 colorless, a red and a black, so Rakdos. Flying 4/4, ward 2, pay 2 life. Whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a 1/1 counter on Valgavoth and draw a card. So, the whole premise of this deck is group Slug, make everybody at the table regret the fact that they sat down with you. I'd highly recommend you only play this deck with people you know, because this is not a deck that's going to make friends. This is not a deck that's going to make people happy, other than you, of course. So, well, I guess if you have some masochist friends. Either way, I would only play this deck at a table that knows that it's coming and that is comfortable playing at this bracket level. This is considered, at least on Moxfield, a bracket 4 deck, just barely. I would consider it a high tier bracket 3 deck. I think once you get into bracket 4, at least in my opinion, you're more looking towards tutoring up a combo and then comboing out fairly quickly. Not quite as quickly as bracket 5 CDH, but almost. This doesn't have any combo capability. If you're interested in tuning it up to that level, obviously you can cut some cards you don't like and add some 2-card combos and add some demonic tutors and vampiric tutor, all that other stuff. But I think this would be considered a high bracket 3, very low bracket 4 deck, at least as of right now. So the name of the game here is pinning our opponents for damage on their turns. One big mistake that I saw on a lot of cards on EDH rec for this deck was cards that dealt damage on your turn, which does not draw you a card. Remember, Valgavoth says whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, then you put a 1/1 counter on him and draw a card. So we're looking for cards that are going to deal damage on their own turns. First one, Chandra, Awakened Inferno, obviously giving the emblem that deals 1 damage is amazing. It's going to guarantee you get a card draw as long as Valgavoth is alive, pretty much on everyone's turn. Bloodseeker, damage whenever a creature enters under an opponent's control. Deadpool was your pet card. Great in here either way, just because it does do life, well, it does life loss, and then you can also basically steal someone else's creature, so to speak. Fate Unraveler. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Fate Unraveler. Oh my god, I just can't pronounce this card. Deals 1 damage to that player. One thing I will note, there are not that many 4 mana pinning cards in here. You can think about cards like Mana Barbs. You can think about cards like the enchantment that says whenever you tap a non-basic, it deals 1. There's a ton of things that deal increments of 1 at 4 mana. We don't play many of them because I think your sweet spot is 1 through 3 for those cards, but Fate Unraveler I decided to add. Gleeful Arsonist, damage on casting non-creatures. Harsh Mentor, damage on multitude of things. Kazakar, deals damage, draws cards, goad stuff. Cataract Parasite, draws cards. If you control red permanent, it deals 1 damage. Magebane, non-creature damage. Mogus, slow and steady and miserable is the name of the game. 2 damage unless they sack a creature on all their upkeeps. Obnixilis, the brother, so to speak, of Valgavoth. Whenever 1 or more opponents each lose exactly 1 life, put a 1/1 counter on Obnixilis. Exile a top card of your library. Until your next turn, you may play that card. I will say, Valgavoth is a sweet card. I think Obnixilis might be a click better, and Obnixilis is going to start leading you towards that bracket 4. I do have an Obnixilis deck tech, I believe, so if you're interested in tuning this up to bracket 4, I would possibly look at Obnixilis as the commander, and you can still put Valgavoth in the deck. Osier basically will make everything that's red deal damage equal to his power, at least non-combat. Orcish Bowmasters, amazing card. Rampaging Frostodon, players can't gain life and it deals 1 damage when another creature enters. Whenever an opponent draws a card, it deals damage. Whenever they cast a spell, it deals damage. Screaming Nemesis, just great for its rate. Doesn't do the 1 damage pinging stuff that we want, but it does keep a player from gaining life for the rest of the game. Shieldred, whenever you draw, you gain 2. Whenever an opponent draws, they lose 2. In any deck that's looking to slow the game down and slug it out, this is a great option. Sulfum, kind of the upgrade to Osier, basically doubling all of your non-combat damage. The Lord of Pain, your opponents can't gain life. Whenever a player casts their spell, they choose another target or another player. That player gets hit. Zozu, whenever land comes, deals damage. So again, pretty much everything we have going on here is just increments of damage whenever an opponent tries to take a game action. Blasphemous Act are one of board wipe in here. I don't think it's super necessary to play too many because a lot of our cards are very important to keep on the field. So ideally, we want to be the ones keeping stuff like that from happening. Disrupt Decorum, a good way to just cause chaos, make everybody deal with each other. I definitely brought a monster up here. Make everybody deal with each other while you just get to profit. Feed the Swarm, destroy a creature or an enchantment. Not many options for that in black or red. Jessica's Will, one of our other game changers. Being able to ramp our way to our commander faster is always going to be a great option. And Vandal Blast, just hit all the artifacts you don't control. I think a lot of times a deck like this is going to have trouble keeping everybody under control when they get ahead on mana. So this is going to be a good way to manage that. Sorry for getting up. I had to get this monster. Instance, Dark Ritual, another, even though it's a one-off, it's a way to get to our commander faster. Anytime we can get to Valgavoth a little bit quicker is what we're looking for. Deflecting Swat, a great way to circumvent somebody trying to kill your commander. It's extremely important to keep him out and keep him safe throughout the game. At the end of the day, most of your card draw is predicated on you activating the ability successfully of what your commander is trying to do. There's not a lot of card draw outside of him. So if you cannot keep him alive, you are going to have an extremely difficult time actually getting ahead of the table and making any use of what you have doing. So more importantly than anything, and we'll also highlight this in the artifact section, is getting him out as fast as possible and then making sure he survives. Same reason Untimely Malfunction is here, to basically redirect a spell. Artifacts, we'll go straight to the ramp package. Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Ebony Fly, Felwar Stone, Fire Diamond, Liquid Metal Torque, Mind Stone, Thought Vessel, Talisman, Star Compass, Rakdos Signet, Soul Rain. So 12 pieces. Normally I go for 10 in most of my decks, but again, I think it's incredibly important to get your commander out early. And I believe I did the math at one point, or at least I told ChatGPT to do the math. And if you have 14 2-mana rocks in your deck, you have a, I think it was like a 67% chance of drawing one by turn 2. So, ergo, at least 2/3 of your games, you're going to be getting your commander out one turn early. And that's assuming no mulliganing. So if you do take your freebie, that percentage is obviously going to go up dramatically. And I think 12 is kind of a good sweet spot between the 10 and the 14. So I highly recommend being around that number. More of the same as far as making everybody hurt. Ankh of Mishra, Barbed Wire. We have Copper Tablet. This one's really expensive because it's a reserve list card. So if you don't want to pay $60 to deal 1 damage on people's upkeeps, just swap it out for anything you want. I just threw it in here because it's cool, and to be honest, I've never seen a deck play it before. Crawl Space, slow the game down, make sure only a couple creatures can attack. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, both ways to protect our commander. And I think that is it for all of the ramp, or all of the artifacts. Enchantments, Blood Moon. We do have non-basics that we're happy to have out and we're happy to have active, but I would say generally, anytime you can play an effect like this that's going to dramatically warp the game around it and allow yourself to have some time to build up and continue to put yourself in a position to take over once it's dealt with, you're going to love to do that. Forsaken Wastes, 3 mana, players can't gain life, then they lose 1 life during each upkeep. And then if somebody, for some reason, targets Forsaken Wastes, it deals 5 damage to them. But this is, you have to look at these do-nothing enchantments through the lens of your commander. If you get this out, and then the next turn you play your commander, and you pass the turn, you are going to draw 3 cards from each of your 3 opponents that are going to take a damage on their upkeep. So, at worst, even if it's dealt with that turn cycle, this is a 3 mana draw 3, which is still pretty damn good. Mana Barbs, we do have a couple of these specs, but we don't play all of them. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, it deals 1 damage to them. No Mercy, whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. Painful Quandary, whenever an opponent casts a spell, they lose 5 or they discard a card. Pestilence and Pyrohemia are kind of the same thing. If you've never seen these cards before, basically, if there's no creatures in play, then they are destroyed, essentially, at the end of turn. Otherwise, you can pay a red or a black based on which version you have, and it deals damage to all creatures and all players. So these cards are the quintessential pieces that, you know, the entire group slug format or the entire group slug denomination of commander cards are kind of based on. These are the cards that made this viable from the beginning. Phyrexian Arena, lose a life, draw a card. Roiling Vertex, deal 1 damage. Spell Shock, whenever a player casts a spell, deal damage. Sulfuric Vortex deals a damage. Theater of Horrors lets you pay 4 to deal a damage to an opponent, but you can also exile cards from the top of your library and then cast them as long as an opponent has lost life this turn, which you should be able to make happen pretty often. Meat Hook Massacre, good life gain, good way of dealing damage, good way of wiping the board, very, very good at its utility, and it is as cheap as it has been in quite a long time. So if you don't have a couple of these for your collection yet and you like playing black decks, I'd highly recommend at least picking like 2 up, because this card has not been below $30 in a very long time, and it is one of the better board wipes out there. So I don't think it's going to stay below this number for very long. Underworld Dreams, whenever an opponent draws a card, deal damage. Unholy Annex, at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you control a demon, each opponent loses 2 life. So this is basically a Phyrexian Arena, because our commander is a demon. Lands, literally none of this is, I would say, necessary. Shiv and Gorge is good for having something to do with your excess mana to deal damage, as well as Mount Doom. Witch's Clinic, giving your commander lifelink to be able to do a big, swing of life gain. We do have Urborg Cabal Coffers, which is good in here, but we don't have any way to actually tutor them, so they're 100% not necessary, and they do represent quite a bit of the cost of the deck. Urborg is basically 50, Cabal is 20, and then, a fetch and a Blood Crypt, and that's $100 right there. That is absolutely not necessary in this deck. So whenever you're looking at a deck like this, just do your best, but if you do want it to be high-powered and consistent, these are probably the lands I'd recommend. But overall, I think it's going to be a great time, at least for you. Again, don't play this with random people. High bracket 3, low bracket 4. If you guys are interested in having me put a deck together for you, please leave a comment below. I hope you enjoyed the deck tech as always. Godspeed.